Good afternoon, David Netzer. Thank you for coming in.
My pleasure, Mr. Scott. Super excited to be here. Wanted to be on the path to follow for a long time now.
I'm glad. Thank you for being here. We're in the home stretch till spring break. What's new with you?
Not much, I feel like a big weight off my chest. Now I'm done with the senior speech and kind of maybe coast to the end of senior year, hopefully.
You dropped my class. You were in my senior elective. Now I only have 3 students in there.
Do you really?
Yeah.
Look,
but it's a good class.
I wanted to take the
quality.
class. I did not drop it because of the class. I dropped it so I could have a first period free.
Oh, okay. All right. That's fair.
That's a serious game changer because last year I took 6 classes, so yeah, I didn't have that insight in first semester, that first free every other day. You sleep an extra hour and a half.
So what's your favorite class? What do you like doing here at Gilman?
I think my favorite class I've ever taken here, definitely I took AP Art History last year with Miss Finnerty.
It's a pretty tough class.
Yeah. Well, here's the problem. I thought it would be an easy class.
Yeah.
It seems like it might be easy, but basically what AP Art History is you have to memorize 250 works of art.
Visually memorize them.
And then you have to know at least 2 identifiers for each one, which is like name of an artist, the date, the medium, or some, there can be a few other identifiers for sculptures and things, but.
So all across history, or is it a specific period?
So it's literally from cave paintings from 25,000 BCE, and it goes all the way up to works from like the early 2000s, and then you have your whole kind of Western arc, which is like going from Renaissance and Baroque and contemporary American and all that, and then you also have a unit for each. For like other cultures, so there's like a unit for African art, there's a unit for Middle Eastern art, there's a unit for Asian art, there's a unit for South American art. It's like you gotta memorize all of that.
What period interests you the most?
I was a huge fan of like a lot of 20th century stuff. So I liked some 1920s, 1930s European like Dadaism, surrealism, like Marcel Duchamp.
Yeah,
I just fell in love with.
The Fountain.
Yeah. And people look at that and they're like. They think it's ridiculous. And I remember one of the versions of the fountains in Philadelphia. Mm-hmm. And I went to the Philadelphia Museum of Art.
I've seen it, yeah.
And they have this huge Duchamp collection. And like you look at it, it's nothing.
It's a urinal, right?
It's a urinal, yeah. It's a urinal. He's threw his name on it. That's it. Mm-hmm. And it's like, it's profound.
It's like M. Putt or something. It's a different name.
Yeah, it's not even his name.
Yeah.
He was kind of strange guy.
So was Dalí, and so are all those guys.
Oh, yeah, Dalí, very strange. You ever seen the pictures of him walking his aardvark around the city?
Yeah, he's a pet aardvark.
Yeah.
And he's got that mustache. And
I love the mustache. I gotta be honest. I wish I could grow a mustache like that.
Yeah. Well, that's part of it. I mean, I think part of the appeal of their art is the personality of the character, Yeah. I don't know much about Duchamp, but I just know that he's famous for that urinal that he puts in museums now.
I feel like that's like pretty well encapsulates him. He was like he cross-dressed way before it was normalized, really, and so he had these like alter egos and these alternative personalities, and I guess his art's like a reflection, like very post World War II modernist.
Okay, was he a Dadaist?
He's the Dadaist.
He is the Dadaist.
To me, at least.
Okay.
Like I remember 10th grade Mr. Hudson's making my Europe class. My final paper was all about Dada. And I just had to stare at all these ridiculous sculptures he had.
What was this movement in response? Was it in response to the war, which usually happens, World War I?
World War I, yeah. Excuse me.
I said World War II earlier. Death and destruction.
And basically Duchamp was like, nothing even matters. Like, what is everything? What is anything? Like, what's even art? What does art mean?
Right.
And so that's why I think that came and touched me, was profound to me, because what is art? When you look at René Magritte, if you ever seen the pipe, right?
Yeah, this is not a pipe.
Yeah, it's not a pipe because it's not a pipe. Mm-hmm. You can't smoke it, you can't touch it, you can't hold it.
Yeah,
but it's a painting of a pipe.
It's representation.
It's representation, exactly.
Yeah,
that was that just was very. I thought that was really interesting. I remember when we looked at Fountain, and we had 11 people, maybe 9 people in our class, and everybody else looked at Fountain and said, "That's ridiculous. That's the dumbest thing I've ever seen." I was like, "Wow."
You liked it. It spoke to you.
It's weird. It's really weird, because art's it's a weird thing.
Yeah.
Sometimes you see things that just speaks to you. It reaches out to you. You have no idea why.
It's in the eyes of the beholder.
Exactly.
I like Edward Hopper. He's my favorite
Really?
artist.
I have a hopper in my room of a print.
Nighthawks?
Yeah, Nighthawks.
Yeah, I saw that in Chicago this year. I went with the mock trial team to Chicago for a weekend and went to the Chicago Institute. It's amazing. I mean, I loved it there. And it's huge. It's a huge museum. There's a lot in there. But Philadelphia is where I'm from, so I've been to the Philadelphia Museum of Art a lot. And then there's another museum in Philly called the Barnes Foundation, and that's got a lot of Cezanne paintings in there. I believe Cezanne, yeah. Cezanne and Matisse are all in the Barnes. I would recommend going to the Barnes Foundation if you can, because it's pretty small. You can do it in one day. It's not as overwhelming maybe as like a Philadelphia Museum of Art or National Gallery or Chicago Institute. And it's just this guy, Barnes' collection, and he's got, what's really cool about the Barnes Foundation is that he's got paintings on one wall and they reflect in some way the painting on the very opposite wall. So it's very intentionally designed. They've got a chair sitting over there, and then right across on the other side is like a painting of a chair, and you try to figure out why he put certain things in whatever position they're in. But that's cool that you went to Philly Museum of Art too.
I think we're spoiled here in Baltimore too.
Yeah.
BMA is like the Cohn sisters collection, like all this incredible Matisse, huge Matisse collection, and the Walters has great stuff too.
I've never been to the Walters.
Worth a visit.
Okay.
All this like great Renaissance and Baroque stuff.
Well, I'm leaving Baltimore next year, so I gotta
You need to be there before then.
Yeah. What else would you recommend? And did you grow up in Baltimore?
So I was born in Philly actually.
Oh, you were, okay.
But I'd say I've grown up in Baltimore. Yeah.
Yeah. I've been here 6 years, and I feel like I've done the Baltimore thing. I've been around the city a little bit, but I have not been to the Walters, so that's on my bucket list before I leave. So tell me a little bit about your senior year and what else you're doing, what else you're up to.
Yeah. Gilman senior year. This year I'm the president of Greyhound TV, so shout out Mr. Ciccanti, right? And like we've been doing a lot of good work this year. At least I like to think so. Yeah. Just getting more games, getting guys going. Like I think it's like a valuable resource for the school.
Yeah, it is.
Because where I used to go was a small school, and it was a K-8, and we didn't have the resources or the manpower to do something like this. Yeah. So I especially love this, like 9th, 10th grade. Like sometimes when we would have like in person or a hybrid, and I couldn't get to school, like just be able to watch the sports games. Yeah. Yeah. And are you bringing the younger guys up and teaching them the ways of GTV? Well, hopefully they're learning, but it takes some time. I mean, being behind the microphone and commentating games, it's not an easy skill. Yeah, it's intimidating. It takes a few trial runs, How'd you learn? How'd you get into GTV? I was super interested in baseball and statistics because of Mr. Brooks's baseball and statistics course I took in 9th grade. I felt like GTV, that's a cool opportunity, right? Like feel like a beat writer, just following around the sports teams and writing down everything, watching everything, taking in like as much as you can. Yeah. I thought that was really interesting, and then I kind of realized that I love sports so much, right? I've always had a love for baseball. Yeah. I loved it so much. I was like, you know what? I want to call a game. I want to use the camera. I want to like understand this even more. And I never really planned on calling a game, and then my first game I ever called was a lacrosse game. And granted, I'd never watched a lacrosse game in my life. But we were we were a man down. You need to step in. Somebody step up, and I was like, you know what, whatever. Just put myself out there. Yeah, how'd it go? I think it went all right. Yeah. It was. That's a tough one because there's so many terms in the sport of lacrosse that you need to know. Mr. Matthews sat me down for 30 minutes. And he gave you teach me like every word, like a dodge and everything, yard sale, and some lacrosse guys were giving me like some slang, like top cheddar. Yeah. So that's all you need to know. Yeah, the lingo. The lingo, yep. And then you kind of go crazy when something big happens. I don't think I could call a baseball game, and I've watched baseball games. I've been to the O's games. I've been to Phillies games, but I still don't feel confident in that sport. I mean, I've never played at bat in my life. Always lacrosse. So baseball would be tricky for me. I think maybe the trickiest because I just don't know the lingo. I don't know the terminology of that sport. Yeah, I know baseball's fun to call because it's slow. You can talk. It's nuanced. Like you see, like there's these weird relationships that happen on the field, like between the catcher and the umpire, right? Like catcher gets hit in the chest protector with a ball, the umpire will step up, he'll swipe the plate off, and he'll give the catcher a second, and like there's all these just weird things that go on the field.
Right.
It's like it's just
You've got to be keen to those observations, though.
Yeah.
If you're not trained and you haven't, do you feel like baseball is the type of sport where you have to play it to really understand it?
I don't think so. I haven't played baseball in 8 years.
Yeah.
I played like youth league, youth rec league, and then I decided I wanted to run track and field in the spring instead.
Yeah.
And that was the end of my baseball days. Not that I was ever particularly great at it.
Yeah.
But I think like after that is really when I fell in love with baseball, just like from a purely spectator level.
Yeah.
And like especially with baseball statistics.
Yeah, I feel like if you're into statistics, you can really get into that sport because it's so much about the numbers and crunching the numbers. And, I think the one moment in my life where I really took to baseball was in my statistics class, senior year of high school. I didn't really like my teacher that much. I didn't like the subject. I was never a math person, but we watched that movie. What's the movie about? Moneyball. Brad Pitt, and everything made sense. And it was just so fascinating how he put that team together based on numbers, which I can see if you're really into numbers and math, why wouldn't you love baseball? Because that's what it's all about, right?
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, I've never been a big math guy. And I don't know, I feel like when I watch football games, I love football, right? But they always show like these ridiculous like Amazon Web Service projections, like 67% chance he'll catch it. Where do you get these numbers from?
Yeah.
I feel like there's like I don't get it. I don't understand it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like maybe sometimes they're just pulling it out of a hat or like a random number generator.
Yeah.
I feel like baseball, it's like a little bit more concrete.
Yeah.
And it's like there's so much repetition. There's so much going on. Like 162 games. You get 3 or 4 at bats a game, if not 5, right? Like it's just all numbers. It's all piling up, and like it's fun to see like as you go halfway through the season or the end of the season, like you can really get a good idea of like how a player is. It's much less like situational than football, because if a receiver has a bad game, right, the box score might show they had 2 catches for 25 yards. But what you can't see is that they were maybe in double coverage the whole time, or the linebacker was
quarterback had an off day.
Yeah, quarterback had an off day, or they were going run heavy that day, right? So I don't like that, because in baseball you have situational moments for sure, but because it builds up so much over time. There's so much repetition. It's just you just have the numbers. The numbers just speak for themselves, honestly.
Yeah. And I will say that the recent changes in the clock situation in MLB speeds up the game a little bit, and it makes it a little bit more entertaining for someone like me who's never played the sport, and I find it boring sometimes, sitting there, even at the ball game, sitting there with your popcorn and your hot dog. It's great to be there. It's a spectacle, but I want a little bit more action, and the shot clock helps with that. But I think people who can appreciate the little details and the what you said, the ump talking to the catcher and things like that, like the sport a little bit more.
Yeah, I was like a purist, a baseball purist. I was not happy with that change, but to be honest, I like it. I like the pitch clock.
Yeah.
Like, I think it's important. Like baseball is slow. It's slow.
Yeah.
It's boring. Like, you compare it to football or basketball, I mean, it gets killed.
Yeah.
Right? So like anything to get the game growing, get people excited about it, I love that.
Let me ask you, I've got a couple of my seniors who are interested in doing the encounter situation or the internship with the O's. They want to be involved with the MLB. What do you think you want to do for your encounter?
So I actually have my encounter plan with the O's.
Oh, you too?
Yeah.
Nice.
So I'm super excited for that. That's a dream, right?
Yeah.
To go work for the O's, and it's with a Gilman grad, probably. Knock on wood that gotta get the contract signed still, of course. But
Okay.
if they want me to go pick up coffees and bring them back, I'll do that. I just want to be around the clubhouse, like see how it is, learn what that's like.
Right. It's only 2 weeks, so
That's frustrating.
It's quick.
Yeah.
You're in and you're out. I mean, I'll do anything for 2 weeks if it gets me in the door. So whatever you have to, if you just have to sit there and watch, that's something, right?
Uh-huh.
That'll be cool. That'll be interesting. All right, so you're going to be calling some baseball games this spring. Are you doing any more lacrosse games?
Yeah, Jacob Eisenberg and I are doing the lacrosse game on Friday against Georgetown Prep.
Yeah,
That's gonna be a good game for sure.
they'll be good.
I know they have some really good players, but like this year, I feel like this is a new Gilman. This is a different Gilman team this year.
Yeah.
This is a fun team.
Yeah, what are your thoughts on the lacrosse team?
I mean, I feel like in years past we've had talent. We had talent last year, but this year like the senior class is stacked with talent.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you had Brooks on here the other day, and he's a beast. You have George, Michael, Jay, all of them, and they're all fantastic players.
Mm-hmm.
Now they're all seniors, they're leaders, and they're the best they're ever going to be in high school probably.
Right.
I feel like we could sneak in the playoffs this year.
Yeah.
I feel like if they take that like underdog mentality that we might have, just because we're MIAA it's stiff, it's fierce.
Right.
You know, like going against teams like Calvert Hall or McDonough or Boys Latin, it's tough. But I feel like if we have that right mentality, we can make a run for it.
I agree. I think it's time. I mean, we haven't been in the playoffs since we were in the playoffs against St. Paul's a couple years ago. I think 2021, like right off of COVID. But other than that, no.
I would love to see them do something great this year. Just go crazy, you know?
Yeah.
Just have a year.
Yeah, I agree. All right. Well, what else is happening with your senior year? How's the college search going for you?
Yeah, so I went early decision, so I'm going to Colgate next year.
Oh, are you really?
Yeah.
Good for you.
So I've been done since December, which is very nice because all my friends who are still waiting to hear back from places, I can't imagine that.
Yeah.
Like just that,
That's tough when everyone knows and you're holding out and you're waiting. Yeah.
just that like 2.5 months after I submitted, just waiting to hear back was like longest time ever.
What's Colgate like? I've never been there. I know a couple people who went there and loved it. It's on the hill, right? It's in Hamilton, New York.
Yeah. Beautiful Hamilton, New York, which is also in the middle of nowhere.
Yep.
It's literally, I think it's about 45 minutes from the nearest city.
Which is
Utica, probably.
Yeah.
Utica or Syracuse.
Is Hamilton a city or is it?
Town is even a strong word for it.
Really? Okay.
I think there's maybe 1,500 people that live there.
Okay.
It's got like 2 streets. It's got a Dollar General. I think a McDonald's. So it's Colgate's campus life. It's all about campus life there.
Yep.
I think that's why people love it, because you're stuck on the campus.
Right.
You have nowhere else to go.
And it's cold.
And it's cold. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you don't want to walk around much. You're stuck to the campus, and I mean it's beautiful around, but you can't go hiking every weekend.
Yeah.
You know. So, but I think Colgate has really cultivated this like awesome campus life, where people like there's so many opportunities on campus. Like I know Cal Tortolani, who graduated from Gilman 2 years ago, was another GTV guy, and he goes out there. He calls like the softball games there.
Does he really?
He was on like ESPN Plus or something.
Oh, that's
last
great.
year, like calling softball games. Like for me, like that's what I thought a lot about. Like it's like if I went to a school like Syracuse, where they have that school of communications where it's that competitive, I would never get an opportunity like that.
Right.
It'd be, ripping to try to get even in the booth, just holding the camera.
Yeah.
But at Colgate, like, there's 3,000 students, 3,100 students. Like, I'm gonna have that's what really mattered to me. Like having opportunities, like just having focused care from like professors and having them be able to teach me like one-on-one office hours. Like, I love.
So
that.
you want to continue with your commentary in college for sure?
I think that'd be fun. Yeah, I think it'd be a lot of fun. I'd love to do like something in like something similar to GTV.
Yeah. Yeah. The Red Raiders.
Yeah. Raiders. Red Raiders, Texas Tech.
Oh, it's not. They're not the Red Raiders. I thought they're Raiders.
Raiders, yeah.
Okay. Well, that's great. Good for you. Glad that you know what you're doing. What was the college process like for you? Was it intense? Was it stressful? Was it fun? Was it interesting?
I actually enjoyed it. I'll tell you what. I enjoyed it. I love going to visit the colleges.
Yeah.
Right? Because each of them has like their own little micro world.
They have their own feel.
Yeah, they have their own feel.
I've got some students who are doing their spring break trips and going to colleges for the first time, and we were talking about the road trips, and you get a sense when you're on a campus. Like, I like this. I could see myself here. This makes sense to me, right? It's a feeling sort of thing.
Yeah. So I was always looking for somewhere small. But I wanted liberal arts, and I also wanted like kind of a sporty school. And Colgate like was literally like the matchup of the Venn diagram, you know?
Yep.
Like you have, so it's small, it's 3,100, and they're Division I.
Yep.
Which a lot of people don't expect. And like, they've made March Madness the last 3 years, and
last year, yeah,
on the way to doing it this year.
They almost won, I think, first round last year.
They were close. They played
15 seed.
Yeah, I think they played like Arkansas.
Yep.
Oof. Maybe this year though.
Yeah.
I don't know. But they're top of the Patriot League right now. Okay. Basketball. So the Patriot League tournament, it's gonna run through Colgate.
Yeah.
So as long as Colgate's winning, every game is gonna be at Colgate.
Now, were you interested at all in some of the big football schools down south, or not really?
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. I wanted to go to school south.
Okay.
I'm not a fan of the cold. There was nothing I love south, right? I was having a hard time finding some small liberal arts schools that have like a good feel for me. I think there was Davidson, there was Elon, and Duke-ish, but I just felt like they just didn't feel right for me.
Yeah.
And I feel like going to school, like a big school down there, would be fun. That's fun.
Right.
SEC school, go to football games. That's a lot of fun.
A lot of people at Gilman and in the tri-school community are starting to really look towards those big southern schools. I think maybe because of COVID, because there's, I think it's maybe people want to be a part of something really, really big after those 2 years of isolation, but it feels more popular for people to want to go to Auburn, for instance.
Yeah. Miss Ross, my college counselor, kind of describes it like the ESPN effect. You see the schools on ESPN, and they get a lot more coverage, and like you see them more. Like you're gonna see Alabama, on TV more than you're gonna see Middlebury.
Right.
Like like those small schools aren't gonna pop up on your TV. Not gonna pop up on your radar unless you go looking for them.
Yeah.
It's like the ESPN effect is very strong because you just keep seeing Nick Saban and Jalen Milroe. Right.
I think I would add to the ESPN effect. I'd add the TikTok effect, because people are looking at their TikToks, and you've got the frat party at Alabama, and you're like, where's Middlebury's? Where's their rushing frat party? Why? Right? Mm-hmm. That's missing. So I think the influx of all the social media pushes people that way too.
Bama Rush.
Yeah.
How about that? That's every year, every fall. I'm just amazed. Like they have the sorority houses there are unbelievable.
Mansions.
Huge. And they're filled with, 200 girls, and they rush, and they have these ridiculous decorations. I don't even know how they have the organizational skills for that. Like I could never put something like that together. Yeah. I could never do that.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's just all tradition, It's part of that big football school lifestyle. It's the culture. Mm-hmm. Let me ask you a little bit more about your Gilman experience and what this has been like for you. You've been here for 4 years. What was it like coming in as a freshman, and what are you thinking about now that you're a senior?
It was weird coming as a freshman. I came, of course, we were online at the start, and then we had that strange little in-person online thing, which was, you would go to your advisory room, but then you'd go to class on Zoom. Yep. Which was really strange. And when I came to Gilman, I didn't really know anybody. I knew of a few people, and it was weird. But, looking back, Gilman is, I love Gilman. I truly love Gilman, and it feels like it's good to be here. I feel like a Gilman guy, and everybody here was super accepting. They were eager to bring me in. Mm-hmm. It's not like they felt like I was a burden or they had to be friends with me. People came up to me and asked for my name. They asked where I was from, where did I go to school before. That I was super grateful for that. And I remember that when I shadowed in 8th grade, Gilman just felt warm. Mm-hmm. It's a school where people hold the door for each other. And I saw them, the way people, of course, saying hi in the hallways. Mm-hmm. That's the big thing at Gilman. I think maybe 95% of senior speeches at Gilman have something to do with saying hi in the hallways. Right. It's mentioned. And it's true. And it's a huge thing, and it means a lot. And when I shadowed, McDonough, I didn't get that same feeling, right? People were just a little bit more distant. They were a little bit more competitive, right? Yeah. And Gilman's competitive, but in a friendly way. We push each other to be better. We don't want to be better than each other. We push each other to be better. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And that was really valuable to me. And coming during COVID, even though everybody was going through the same struggles and everybody's having the same problems, it felt like a community. Mm-hmm. People would, I remember English 9 with Mr. Malkus, we had to make these little flip videos about who we are, and afterwards Nadoom Ebo emailed me. He's like, you want to play Fortnite?
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
There's nothing more a 14-year-old wants than play Fortnite.
Right.
So that's kind of how it felt to me. Just it was warm. It was homey.
So when you come into a new school, like you will at Colgate and like you did at Gilman, you've got to latch on to some things, right? Either friends like Nadum and Fortnite, or classes like Mr. Malchus's class, or clubs like GTV. What are some of the things that you really latched on to when you first got to Gilman?
I'm gonna be honest, ninth grade I did not latch on to much.
Yeah, it must have been hard.
It was
during that
difficult,
time.
but I was kind of scared to put myself out there, and so I didn't join GTV until 10th grade, and I really started getting involved in more things then. Like I started getting involved with the Gilman Investment Society, like the investment club and the business club, and the Jewish Students Union, which was has always been like a great group and like a great resource, and so like definitely like putting myself out there sophomore year like made it easier to latch. And now that things were, I don't want to say back to normal because they weren't, but things felt more normal. Like it was easier to just make myself like part of the Gilman campus, to make myself feel like I belonged here.
Yeah, that's good. And you've got a couple. It's crazy. You've got a couple more months left.
It's kind of hard to think about. Like it feels like the last 3.5 years
Flown by.
It's flown by, and like people say that, and you're like kind of like, oh, whatever.
Yeah.
And people say that when you like start a new school or like a new job, like things will just fly by. In 5 years, you'll look back and be like, wow. And now it's like, I'm looking back, it's like, wow.
Yeah.
It really has flown by. And
Yeah.
you kind of sometimes you like take it for granted.
Yeah. What do you think of the tri-school community?
That was something that was unique to me because, like, I went to a small school. We'd 2 hallways in one building.
Yeah.
And so like coming here is like Gilman's a big campus, Roland Park's a big campus, Bryn Mawr's a big campus, and so I remember sophomore year, or last year really, just having like classes with the tri-school. It's like it's fun, it's exciting because they have different nuances and different opinions than like Gilman guys have. Because Gilman, a lot of unique guys, but also at the same time, there's a lot of the same opinions that are floating around, right? As is every school. So like I remember I had English at Bryn Mawr last year, and that was super fun. To go on campus, to be on their campus, which is beautiful, and then B, just to hear from other people, right? To kind of, because I feel like for freshman and sophomore year, I was like hearing the same people over and over, like a broken jukebox,
Yeah.
just kind of the same thing going on, and having more people and more opinions added that was a lot of fun, and then having classes with all 3 schools. That's super exciting.
Yeah, I missed that. This year, only my history class is Bryn Mawr and Roland Park and Gilman. And my English classes are either one or the other. So it's all Roland Park and Gilman. And I miss having, even though it was more challenging because you've got a whole new aspect of the class, I liked having all schools in the same room. A little bit better. But what did you read in English last year as a junior?
We read a couple of books. I think my favorite was probably The Great Gatsby.
Yeah.
I was a fan of The Great Gatsby.
Yeah.
That's it's a kind of a weird but fun book.
Yeah.
And we watched like clips of the movie as we went along too, which was fun to like compare that.
Yeah. We've done that in my class this year too. I've taught that book so many times. I'm a little tired of it.
I can imagine. But like the green light, that's just it's tiring,
Yeah.
Just staring at that.
Yeah, totally. But yeah, that's good stuff. Let's get to your book rec, Legacy.
There you go. Camera can see it. Complete with the Gilman School library sticker crossed out.
There you go.
This was a gift from Mr. Matthews. A gift is strong. I was borrowing it from Mr. Matthews because he's the Greyhound TV faculty advisor, and he wanted me to read this to have a better understanding of leadership, right? And so it's about the All Blacks, which are the New Zealand rugby team. And it just so happened that at the same time as I was reading it, I was an exchange student in Argentina for 3 weeks last summer. And so they have a huge rugby culture there. And the host family I lived with, their son played rugby. Their rugby culture is great. I mean, we went to one rugby game. It was like their lowest league, like their 7th league, and the stands are packed. They have a whole band out there. They're playing like the drums and the tuba, and they all have these chants they've memorized. And that was so cool to me. And so like it was this like just perfect coincidence, I guess. I became fascinated with rugby too. That's a fun sport.
I've never played rugby.
I did like they have like a PE period, like a gym period, and we play rugby, and then, it's so weird. You have like all the guys out on the field, and it's kind of like football where you're trying to get it to like the end zone.
You're in the scrum though.
You're in the scrum, so like, and you're just tackling indiscriminately. You're just running at the ball. You can only pass backwards, unless you kick it, and if you kick it, then the person you kick it to, there's offsides there. Like you have to be behind at least one defender, and then you're going for a try, and a try is when you score, which I think is a little weird. I'll be honest, because when you see her trying for a try, I don't like that.
Yeah.
But you want to have the ball and touch it down on the ground in like the end zone. That's 5 points, and then you have like an extra point kind of.
Right.
Which is weird. I don't know how they kick the ball. I couldn't get it for the life of me. They put it down like a little placeholder, and they have to kick it like diagonal through the uprights. That's 2 points. But it's low scoring sometimes. Rugby can be really low scoring. And it's like it's this big like mental chess match sometimes. It's all about toughness, and that's like a lot of what this book is about, right?
Yep.
Is like mental toughness, and when you go out there, like just having to focus, right?
Yeah,
Block all
and
distractions.
it's all about what I remember from this book is sweeping the sheds. Is when they come back in and everyone has their own part, and you're not too good, even though you win the biggest game of the season, right? You still have to sweep out the sheds and do the low man's work, right?
Yeah, and so this was like it's a big metaphor for business, of course. And it's not quite about that, of course, but it's all about like you putting yourself at the same level as a team, doing like the lower deeds or doing what everybody else does, and like keeping level head, being yourself, just like how to be a good leader. Because the All Blacks, like the idea is that you don't want to be the best player, like the best version of your name. You want to be the best player to wear your number, and then pass it down to somebody, right? And they really do that. They will pass down their jersey numbers to new players for the All Blacks. It's like you have these rugby superstars who are like the best talents in the world, and they keep them humbled. They keep their head low. And actually they're like mentality coach. He recently signed to Chelsea.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, last year he signed to Chelsea. So I think that's interesting.
Yeah,
Maybe this mindset's like gonna expand throughout sports.
Yeah, all about humility, right? I teach a leadership class in the fall, and we read a little bit about Sweep the Sheds in there, and then I show this video of Rafael Nadal after he's done training for tennis. He sweeps his own court, and it just shows, even the best players in the world at rugby, tennis, whatever, they do the little things. They take care of the details, because the details, there's humility in that, there's discipline, there's toughness, and and they're successful.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit more about Argentina. That's interesting.
Yeah, so I had an exchange student come and live with me last February for 3 weeks, and he was he's a great guy. He's a fun guy. They're all fun down there, and so this past June, I went there for 3 weeks. So I went to school every day. I was very lucky though, because their school is like a bilingual school, so there was a lot of English going on, and I realized that maybe my Spanish is not quite as good as I thought it was.
Do you take Spanish here?
I do take Spanish here. Yeah, I'm taking Spanish 5 with Senor Leon right now.
Oh, you've got to be pretty good then.
I mean, it's
different when you're living there.
Conversational Spanish is so different, and they speak with this accent.
Yeah.
And it's so fast. It's so fast. I was like, it took a week and a half to just get used to even listening to it, and then they go so fast. That, I try to say something in Spanish, just say it in English, man. I'm not waiting. Just say it in English.
Who was the family you were living with?
So I lived with the kid that I hosted. I lived with his family, the Kessler family. And they were super fun. There was 4 kids.
Oh, wow.
So it was
good food?
Oh, great food.
Yeah.
Because they have Argentina, they have this perfect, they have the best of the European world and the best of the South American world. Because it's made up of so many immigrants. They have all these Italian and German immigrants. Plus all this, of course, the South American influence down there.
What city was this?
It was in Buenos Aires.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, so we were a little outside in the suburbs, but it was 45 minutes to get to the city, which is huge. Huge city, beautiful. But I'd go to school every day, and the mom there was the headmistress at the school.
So
a
yeah.
little pressure on me, be good, right? But it was super fun. It was like it's a different experience.
What was surprising to you when you got there that you didn't expect, maybe?
That's hard to say. I think like what I was talking about, that European influence, like it's like they do things very similar to Europe. Like they come home from school and they'll have a tea time.
Yep.
Like they'll have some cookies and tea and coffee, and then they won't eat until 9:00.
They eat late.
They eat very late, and that was something that Fran, my exchange student, he was very confused about, and his family was very confused about, because they asked me, they're like, "So what time do you eat dinner at?" I said, "Well, I eat dinner around 6." And they're like, "What time do you go to sleep at?" I said, 10:30. Said, "So what do you do for the 4.5 hours in between? You don't get hungry?" I didn't think about it that way. Like we eat dinner at 6, and then we'll eat breakfast at like 7. That's 13 hours. That's a long time.
Yeah.
Why do we do that?
I feel like I've heard that if you eat a lot before bed, it's not great for you.
That's
so
possible.
Like eating at like 5 or 6 is actually better for you. I don't know.
That's probably true. But I get hungry,
Yeah. Yeah. In college, we had a break at like 9:30, 10. You go and get some cereal or just to hold you over.
Because you eat, and then the truth is like you don't always go to bed at 10:30. So if you're eating at 6 and then going to sleep at like 12, right? Which I feel like is pretty regular for some high school students and some college students, you're gonna get hungry.
I feel like I went to bed late in high school and college, but now when my students come in and they say I went to bed at 1 or 2 in the morning, I just can't understand how that works.
I can't imagine going to school. Like for me, when I'm up at 12, I'm like, wow, like this is way too late. And that happens once every couple of weeks at most,
So you're 10:30 every night, and then what time do you get up?
Bed 10:30, and then so I get up around 6:45. But because of my first free, some days I wake up at like 8:15.
Yeah, I don't blame you for wanting the first free.
It's like, oh wow, life changing. And then you have a first free on a Wednesday, and it feels like you're sleeping in on a weekend. It is wow. That's
Good
life.
for you. Well, what's on your bucket list, I guess, for the next 2 months, other than working with the O's? What do you want to do before you leave Gilman? Came on the podcast.
Came on the podcast, so that's one down.
You're gonna call some baseball games, some lacrosse games,
some games, and then just want to like leave. So I think like the end of Legacy. I'll go back to my book real quick. Like it's called Legacy because the last chapter is about leaving your legacy. Mm-hmm. I want to like leave behind like a positive legacy. Like I want GTV to like succeed after I'm gone. I want the Jewish Students Union to also succeed after I'm gone. And like for me, it's all about choosing leadership, finding the right people, and then have them read a book over the summer.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is really helpful. And I'm not a big book guy, I'll be honest, but like this one really really got me. Like I flipped through this thing in a week.
Yeah.
It was great.
Good for you. All right, Netzer. Well, thank you for coming in. It's a great episode. We're almost to 40 minutes. It's perfect.
That's good.
With the intro and the outro, we'll be at 40. So we hit our goal.
Perfect.
Great conversation. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you for having me.